blood and dust. The neon sign of the desert, Rose Diner, flickered against the dying light, casting blood-red shadows across the cracked asphalt. In this God-forsaken stretch of Arizona nowhere, where the nearest town was 40 miles of scorched earth away, the diner stood like a beacon for the lost and the hunted. Rex Torino pulled his Harley into the gravel lot, his single good eye scanning the perimeter out of habit. The empty socket where his left eye used to be throbbed in the desert heat. Permanent remind of the night he'd crossed Vincent Castellano and lived to regret. The cartel death order had been following him for 8 months now, a shadow that stretched from Vegas to this dusty corner of hell. Inside the diner, the air conditioning wheezed like a dying animal. Behind the counter, Mabel, a woman whose weathered face had seen too many desert dawns, poured coffee with hands that trembled slightly. "It heard there was trouble here yesterday," Rex said, settling onto a cracked vinyl stool. Mabel's eyes darted toward the back booth, where crime scene tape still fluttered. Jimmy Valdez found him with his throat opened like a second mouth. Sheriff says it was a robbery gone wrong. What do you say? Before Mabel could answer, the diner's bell chimed. A woman entered, her FBI windbreaker hanging loose over a frame that had seen better days pie. Her auburn hair was pulled back severely, and her green eyes held the hollow look of someone who'd stared into too many abysses and found them staring back. Agent Sarachan Former. Agent Sarachan had been off the bureau payroll for 6 months. The Tucson field office had politely suggested she take indefinite leave after the Ramirez case went sideways, taking 3 agents and her career with it. Now she survived on cheap whiskey and cheaper motels, chasing ghosts across the desert. "You're not local," Sarah said, sliding into the booth across from where Jimmy Valdez had died. Rex turned on his stool, sizing her up. "Neither are you, Fed." Former Fed. "And you're Rex Torino. Used to work for the Castellano family until you decided Vincent's daughter was more interesting than your kneecaps." Rex's hand moved instinctively toward the 45 under his jacket. "You've done your homework. Relax. If I wanted you dead, you'd already be cooling in a morgue drawer." "Sarah?" signaled Mabel for coffee. Jimmy Valdez, that's interesting. 3-time loser with connections to the Sinaloa pipeline. And yesterday, someone carved him up like Sunday dinner. Mabel set down Sarah's cup with shaking hands. "You two want to discuss murder. Do it somewhere else. I got enough problems." Rex slid off his stool and approached Sarah's booth. Up close, he could see the needle tracks between her finger-soled ones, mostly healed. "What's your angle, Fed?" Former Fed. "And my angle is that Jimmy was supposed to meet someone yesterday. Someone who never showed. Instead, Jimmy gets his ticket punched, and $40,000 in cartel money disappears from his motel room." "How do you know about the money?" Sarah's smile was sharp as broken glass. "Because I was supposed to meet Jimmy, too." The revelation hung between them like smoke in the desert air. Rex studied her face, looking for tells, for lies, for the truth that everyone in this business kept buried deep. "You're either the stupidest ex-cop I've ever met, or you're running a game I haven't figured out yet." "Option 3, Sarah said. "I'm desperate enough to trust a one-eyed killer because I need answers, more than I need to stay alive." They found Jimmy's motel room at the Cactus Inn, a collection of pink concrete boxes that looked like they'd been dropped from orbit and forgotten. The door hung open, crime scene tape fluttering in the hot wind. Inside, The place had been tossed professional, no wasted motion, no unnecessary destruction. Whoever did this knew what they were looking for, Rex observed, kicking over a mattress that had been sliced open with surgical precision. Sarah knelt beside the nightstand, examining scratches in the wood. Jimmy carved something here before he died. She traced the marks with her finger. Numbers. Coordinate? Maybe. Oh, a bank account. Jimmy wasn't exactly the outdoor type. The coordinates led them deeper into the desert, following a dirt road that had seen better decades. The landscape stretched endlessly. In all directions, red rock formations, jutting from the earth like ancient bones, saguaro cacti standing sentinel against the brutal sun. 20 miles from anything resembling civilization, they found the abandoned gas station. The Texaco sign had long since faded to ghost letters, and tumbleweeds had claimed the pump island. But fresh tire tracks in the dust told a different story. Someone's been using this place, Sarah noted, following the tracks around the building. Behind the station, partially hidden by a cluster of beryl cacti, they discovered a metal shipping container. The lock had been shut off recently. Inside, they found Jimmy Valdez's real business, not drugs, but people. Dozens of fake IDs, immigration papers, and photographs of families desperate enough to pay anything for a chance at the American dream. Coyote operation, Rex said, examining the documents. Jimmy was running illegals across the border, and someone wanted him out of the business permanently. Sarah held up a ledger, its page filled with names, dates, and amounts. Look at these numbers. We're talking about hundreds of people, millions of dollars. A shadow fell across the container entrance. They turned to find Sheriff Dale Morrison, his considerable bulk silhouetted against the desert sun. His hand rested casually on his service weapon. Well, the fugitive and the drunkard. Y'all sure picked a bad day to go sightseeing. Rex's muscles tensed, but Sarah stepped forward, her hands visible be ready. If Morrison. Heard you've been taking good care of Jimmy Valdez's business interest. Morrison's face darkened. I don't know what you're talking about, lady. I'm talking about protection money. About looking the other way while Jimmy moved his cargo. About your cut of $40,000 that went missing yesterday. The desert wind picked up, sending dust devils dancing between the cacti. Morrison's hand tightened on his gun, but before he could draw, a rifle shot echoed across the wasteland. The sheriff spun and dropped, blood spreading across his khaki uniform. From behind a boulder 50 yards away, a figure emerged. She was tall, dark-haired, and moved with the fluid grace of a predator. The rifle in her hands was military grade, and she handled it like a natural extension of her body. Elena Vasquez, Rex breathed. Vincent Saucer. Hello, Rex. You've been a hard man to find. Sarah's hand moved toward her sidearm, but Elena's rifle never wavered from Rex's chest. I wouldn't, John Chen. This doesn't concern you. Everything concerns me now, Sarah replied. But she kept her hands still. Elena smiled, but it held no warmth. Rex killed my brother in Vegas, burned down our operation, cost us $20 million in product. Vincent wants him to suffer before he dies. Your brother was selling kids to sicos in Tijuana, Rex said. Some lines you don't cross, and some debts never get forgiven. The standoff stretched to as piano wire. The sun beat down mercilessly, and sweat stung Rex's remaining eye. In the distance, a quiet, aulda, lonely sound in the vast emptiness. Sarah broke the silence. Elena, you know why Jimmy died? Jimmy was stupid. Started skimming from too many people, including Sheriff Morrison. Elena's rifle shifted slightly. Morrison was our inside man. When Jimmy threatened to expose him, the sheriff panicked. Killed Jimmy too, keep him quiet. And you killed Morrison to tie up loose ends. Business is business. Rex saw his chance as Elena's attention flickered to Sarah. A dove left, rolling behind Morrison's body as Elena's shot went wide. Sarah drew her weapon, but Elena was already moving, using the shipping container for cover. The gunfight was brief, but brutal. Bullets ricocheted off metal and rock, the sound echoing across the desert like thunder. When the dust settled, Elena lay motionless beside the container, Sarah's final shot having found its mark. Rex struggled to his feet, blood seeping from a graze along his ribs. Why'd you help me? Sarah holstered her weapon, her hands steady for the first time in months. Because some sins are worth forgiving. And because Jimmy's ledger has the names of every family still waiting to cross, they deserve better than to die in the desert. They spent the rest of the day going through Jimmy's records, identifying safe houses and contact points along the smuggling route. By evening, Sarah had contacted the few honest agents she still knew at the bureau, arranging for the families to be processed legally rather than left to the vultures. As the sun painted the desert in shades of blood and gold, Rex and Sarah stood beside their vehicles at the crossroads where their paths had converged. Where will you go? Sarah asked. No, maybe. Canada. Canada. Somewhere Vincent's reach doesn't extend. Rex posed, then extended his hand. What about you? Sarah shook it, surprised by the gesture. Back to work. Turns out the bureau, as used for someone who knows where the bodies are buried. Even after everything? Especially after everything. Redemption's a hard road, but it's the only one worth walking. Rex mounted his Harley, the engine roaring to life. If you ever need backup, look for the one-eyed biker buying coffee in truck stops. If you ever need a reference, Agent Chen Vush for Rex Torino. They parted ways as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky. Behind them, the desert held its secrets close and buried forever, others waiting for the next travelers to stumble across the truth. In the distance, the neon sign of the desert, Rose Diner, flickered against the night, welcoming new strangers to a land where justice came with dust on its boots and redemption rode a steel horse into the sunset. The desert never forgot, but sometimes it forgave. Nah.